All right, good afternoon, MacArthur Cyclones. It's Miss Long, and I'm back this week with a very special guest, back by popular demand. You might remember Coach Tyner from a book talk a few months ago. Well, his book talk was so popular, he's been asked to come back. So thank you for coming back, Coach Tyner.
Glad to be here.
Thank you. So we got to talking, and of course he's a voracious reader, and he's a big history buff. He knows so much about history. And he suggested that we do a book that revolves around the military and our veterans, since Memorial Day is coming up. And as you all know, Memorial Day is always at the end of the month of May, and it's where we honor and remember our U.S. men and women in military who have so bravely lost their lives, protecting our country. And so he's selected. You want to tell us the title of your book?
Yeah, the title of the book is Heroes Don't Run by Harry Mazer. Now, this is actually one part of a trilogy. You can see all three books that Miss Long has put up here. And so I have not read the first two. I just read the concluding. I didn't really know there were first two when I first read it, but I imagine they're all really good.
Awesome. And I thought I'm going to tell you just a little bit about the book, and then Coach Tyner's going to tie in. He's going to tell you a little bit more about it, but then he's going to tie in a story that's true to his own family, that his own family experienced during World War II.
And I'm not that old, but
Yeah.
it was my mom. And
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Okay, so it says, I wanted to serve, to be a part of this thing my father had given his life for. I didn't want the war to end, and all I'd be able to say was, no, I didn't serve. I was right here the whole war, safe in Bakersfield. So Adam Pelko witnessed the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor that killed his father, who was a lieutenant on the USS Arizona. Even though Adam is underage, he defies his mother's wishes. He enlists in the Marines. He's sent first to boot camp, and then his final destination of Okinawa, Japan. He experiences the stark reality of war firsthand, the camaraderie and the glory, as well as the grueling regimen, the paralyzing fear, and things that no boy should see. Okay.
So, yeah, as Miss Long said, this book is about World War II, and it kind of starts off by telling us what Adam went through as a young boy, and some of these previous novels go through that as well. But his dad died on the USS Arizona, so if you've ever been to Pearl Harbor, or if you've ever watched anything about Pearl Harbor, you know there's a USS Arizona monument there, and most of the men that died aboard that, all the men that died aboard that are, pretty much entombed in the USS Arizona there. So he witnessed that firsthand, and then later his mom and him moved to California. Bakersfield is where they refer to, and he was about 14, I think, when his dad died. And about 3 years later, when he's 17, he feels like he really needs to serve, and he should serve. And his mom, of course, she's totally against it because she's already lost her husband. Certainly don't want to lose her son, and they also have a young girl at home as well, and they don't want to lose him. So he convinces her to let him travel out to Pennsylvania to see his grandfather, who was a World War I veteran, and then he talks his grandfather into helping him enlist in the Marine Corps, and he does that. And then he goes through Marine Corps boot camp, and then ultimately fights in Okinawa. And some of you history buffs out there know that Okinawa was really the last battle of World War II. It was right before we decided to drop the big bomb on Japan, because we were planning. The plan was to take Okinawa, and it was a brutal battles and tough fighting, and that's well described in the book. And we were planning to invade Japan, but then, of course, President Truman ordered the use of nuclear weapons, or the atomic bomb, I should say, and that brought war to an end, and they signed the peace declaration. Now, Adam goes throughout lots of things during the book. You'll just have to see how it ends. I think you'll really like it. If you're a history buff at all, I think you'll really like this book. Now, as Miss Long said, I have a personal story that I'd like to tell. It being Memorial Day, my uncle, Lawrence Lee Barlow, he has a similar story. His dad didn't die in Pearl Harbor, but both of his older brothers, I should say one older brother and one younger brother, had signed up and had enlisted in the Navy. And so he wanted to enlist in the Marine Corps, and they didn't take him. They didn't accept him. He had a hernia, and so he went to work and saved up money to pay for an operation so that he could enlist. And he actually enlisted. And, that's what kind of brought this home to me. So heroes don't run. He didn't run. he faced it full off. And as I said, he fought in the last battle, and he died on a little place called Wana Ridge, W-A-N-A Ridge. If you want to look up if you ever saw the movie Heartbreak Ridge, Wana Ridge was just over from Heartbreak Ridge, and I think it's Heartbreak Ridge.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I can't remember the name of it, but anyway, Wana Ridge was another ridge, not as well known, not as well mentioned, but a couple of Medal of Honors were awarded there, and he died on May 17, 1945, on the kind of cresting up the north side of the Wana Ridge. I do want to read one thing to you to kind of close, and it gets me every year at Memorial Day that we need to remember. A lot of people say, I always think, man, I don't need to share this again because it bores people, but it's really the reason that we have Memorial Day is for things like this, and the kind of the loss that people went through. And this was a letter to my grandmother from the company commander of my uncle. Sometimes I get a little choked up reading it.
Yeah.
Dear Mrs. Barlow, my mom was a Barlow. It was with great sorrow that I write you this letter because it's about your son, Lawrence Lee Barlow, who gave his life for his country while fighting with my company in Okinawa. No mere words I can put here can make up in any way for this loss, but I hope I can give you some of the circumstances. Lawrence joined us in Russell Islands with the first squad of the 1st Rifle Platoon, which was commanded by Lieutenant L.L. Miller. He was an assistant automatic rifleman. A more courageous and loyal Marine cannot be found. On the 17th of May, 1945, our company was attacking in a very difficult position, trying to reach a ridge known as Wana Ridge near the town of Wana, Okinawa. Lawrence's fire team was at the front of the column during the assault at 7:30 a.m. on the 17th. He was struck in the neck by a burst of Japanese machine gun fire, and the end came instantly with absolutely no suffering. His fire team leader, PFC Jimmy Kellerman, was with him at the time, but neither his services nor our 2 battalion doctors were in need, as he was already in the hands of God. The burial was held the following day, May 18th, in the beautiful 1st Marine Division Cemetery. The division has notified us that pictures of the individual graves will be available in the near future. We have already turned over his personal belongings to the proper authorities for forwarding home. This is a sad story of a fine man and an outstanding Marine. Lawrence was a fine boy, always brave and willing, and we are proud to serve with him. He was loved and respected by every officer and man in his command. It was truly a credit to the United States Marine Corps. We have suffered an irreplaceable loss, but his spirit will always be with us, and we shall not forget him. May the grace of God be always with him. The nation pays tribute to you and other fine mothers whose sons have made a supreme sacrifice for a great cause. I am sure that he did not die in vain. Very sincerely yours, Robert I. Owen, Captain, United States Marine Corps. It gets me every time. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Coach Tyler. Okay. Thank y'all. We'll see you next week.